So this is my quick review of the Leica Minilux. This one happens to be the black paint version. It's exactly the same as the silver one, only that it comes in black. So here's the basic, this is to give you an idea of the size of the camera. It's small, it's compact, it's definitely not as small as some of the other 35mm compacts out there. If you're looking for a camera that's easily pocketable and something that you can carry around with you and not notice, this is probably not the best camera for that. But if you want a camera that's going to give you awesome picture quality, especially if you're shooting people, then this is probably one of the best cameras out there, one of the best compacts. The main reason for that is the lens. The lens is a 40mm f2.4 prime, and it is simply honestly amazing. It is ultra sharp, the contrast is great. Because it's an f2.4 lens at 40mm, you can get some nice shallow depth of field. So if you're really into shooting people, and if you're into street photography and your main focus is people, then this will give you really nice subject isolation because of the shallow depth of field. But if you're into shooting landscapes and maybe cityscapes, you might find the 40mm lens a bit too not wide enough to fit your desired scene in. So like I said, this camera's biggest strength is its lens. It is probably the sharpest lens that I've tested out of all the compacts that I've owned, and definitely gives you the most pleasing portraits and the nicest bokeh of the cameras I've used. So this camera is not without its flaws, and it has quite a bit of them. Its biggest flaw, I would say, is the viewfinder. The viewfinder is absolutely tiny. Let's see if I can give you an idea of the size. It is a little tunnel with very low magnification, and it really takes a pleasure out of composing the scene. On some of the other compacts, you get a nice big bright viewfinder with bright frame lines that let you compose your scene, and you can even see what's outside those frame lines. So if you want to readjust, you can do that. With this one, it's like looking at the end of it's like taking a roll of toilet paper, holding it up to your eye, and peeking through it. You're really limited as what you can see, and your subject's small. It's hard to distinguish features in your subject. But at the end of the day, the picture quality is amazing, and the lens makes up for the fact that the viewfinder is honestly terrible. Some other problems with this camera that I don't like is every time you turn on the camera, it defaults to the flash on setting. So your flash is always on auto mode, which is a pain in the ass, especially if you want to shoot something discreetly, like a street scene and the lighting's a little bit dim. Then unless you go and hit the menu button a few times, turn off the flash, it will always default to, the flash will go off. So even though your flash is turned off right now, you turn your camera off and back on, it's back to auto. So every time you turn your camera on and off, you gotta remember to go turn the flash off. Also, if you want to change the exposure compensation, some cameras have a nice dial, so it's really quick and easy. With the Minilux, you got to press the EV button, hold it, and then you can set your exposure value. And notice how it just cycles through the different, so it's +2, and then it goes -2, -1.5, -1. So it's not like you have plus or minus, you got to keep hitting that button. And again, so if you turn your camera off and turn it on, the exposure value compensation is actually memorized. So while your flash settings get reset, your EV settings stay. So if you've overcompensated for if you turn up the exposure compensation for a dim scene, you turn your camera off, and now you're ready to take a photo of something else. Unless you remember to change your exposure compensation back to neutral or back to 0, or to whatever new setting you want to use. It's going to use that old setting, and your photo is not gonna turn out good. So that's another issue. Other than that, if you want to change your aperture, everything's on this thumb control dial, which is it's fairly easy. Manual focus is right here. With manual focus on this camera, you're primarily, well, you are guessing the distance to your subject. On the Contax T2, the nice thing with that camera is when you spin this dial on the Contax, there's an indicator in the viewfinder, your autofocus indicator, which will light up green once you achieve focus on your subject. So you actually know when you've dialed in the right focus. Whereas in this one, it's just you're guesstimating. And again, that's a skill. Some people can set that no problem, but if you're just starting out, it's not as easy as it. It's not easy. Period. What else? I think that's pretty much it. What I've read about this camera is that it was actually designed by Panasonic, and designed by Panasonic for Minolta, something along those lines. And when you think about it, like, because of the unintuitiveness of all the settings, it is like it's like the people that designed this camera weren't photographers, and you really tell when you try to use the different settings and switch the flash on and off, change the EV settings. It's cumbersome. Same with the viewfinder. It's there, but it's probably the smallest, dimmest, worst viewfinder on a high-end compact that I've ever seen. But the lens, it's a Leica lens. It's super sharp, super crisp. The contrast is awesome, especially if you're shooting black and white. The contrast is really, really good. And again, it's a 40mm lens, f2.4. If you're into shooting portraits or people shots, this will give you the most shallow depth of field out of all the compacts out there, high-end compacts. And the bokeh, I find, is really nice. So there you have it. If you're into shooting people, this is the camera to get. If you're looking for something that's easily pocketable and shooting landscapes, then it's not the camera.